It's been a difficult and at times dire year for this great country. But one ray of hope has been the retreat of illiberal identity politics, or woke ideology, led from the White House and now reflected in the more sane positions of almost all of our institutions. From the corporates stitching woke ads to the courts confirming, shock horror, a man cannot be a woman, and the increasing willingness of normal people to call out the threat of radical Islamism in the face of the ever-weakening cries of racist or Nazi. Unfortunately, the Church of England and the Catholic Church have not got this message. In her Christmas message to the nation, the incoming Archbishop of Canterbury, Dame Sarah Mullally, said this:
Our national conversations about immigration continue to divide us when our common humanity should unite us. Families struggle to secure housing, and the complexities of assisted dying challenge our understanding of what it means to live and die well. And many people experience the hardship and injustice of inequality. These issues do not define our whole life together, yet they can lead us wondering whether the world is fraying at the edges.
It's not the conversations about immigration that are dividing us. It's the weak border policies of this government that are dividing us. It's illegal migrants committing awful crimes almost every day that are dividing us. It's the migrant hotels that are dividing us. It's the cry of racist from the left when anyone dares raise this conversation that is dividing us. The conversations must be had. She went on to say that we must become people who make room for others and offer them a hospitable welcome instead of hankering after an imagined past. The undertone is obvious, ladies and gentlemen. Shut up and fall in line with the multicultural progressive project. Forget about that pleasant country you think you remember. It's pure leftist gaslighting. The Pope, similarly, couldn't avoid a political slant to what is normally an apolitical, solemn Christian sermon.
The civilian population in Gaza is being crushed by hunger and continues to be exposed to violence and death. I renew my heartfelt appeal for a ceasefire, the release of hostages, and full respect for humanitarian law.
Noble sentiments, but he must be aware, sentiments that are sure to send a political message more than a religious one. Then again, this is the same man who blessed a block of ice a few months ago in a cringeworthy climate change appeal. The King, the defender of the faith, used his Christmas message to pay homage to the religion of our age. No, not Christianity, but diversity. Fewer people across this country are going to church every single year. Christian values are increasingly being questioned. And Christianity is under attack, both literally and metaphorically, across the West and further afield. If the leaders of the Christian faiths continue on this woke crusade rather than going back to the basics and focusing on their faith, then their most ardent supporters will abandon them for good. That would be a tragedy for this country and the world.
Hello, I'm Bev Turner. Now, it can feel like the money in our bank accounts at the moment does not keep up with the cost of living, and maybe there's a solution. I'm here today with the CEO of Tally Money, Cameron Parry. Cameron, what is Tally Money?
Well, Bev, with Tally Money, you get a current account and a debit card, but instead of pounds, you use milligrams of gold as your everyday money.
So why gold?
Gold traditionally is a great store of value. It has, on average, gone up at over 11% per annum for the last 25 years against the pound. It's tripled in value in the last decade. And in the last 2 years alone, it's increased by 50% against the pound. Banks' savings products just can't compete with that level of growth.
But this isn't just about gold. This is about a currency that you guys have created at Tally Money. Explain it to me as though I'm an idiot.
So, look, people need to be able to hold their earnings and build their savings in a money that retains its value and remains in their legal control and remains theirs to access, away from government control.
Great. You had me at not exposed to government control.
You should feel safe and happy with your money. You should have peace of mind the more money you see in your bank balance, and that's the type of thing we're trying to deliver, and give people choice in the type of money they get to use every day.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Cameron. Thank you.
Matthew, I'm sure you agree with every word of that.
I have to say I'm surprised, Will, that you've gone in hard on immigration on Christmas Day, of all days. Or maybe not that surprised.
Well, I knew you were coming in, so I thought we may as well have a ding-dong before the action starts.
No, you're, as a recent immigrant to the country yourself, be well aware of King Charles and the significance of the Christmas Day message from the King, until very recently, of course, from the Queen.
And my King as well.
And your King indeed as well. And his message today was clear, and it was about unity, and it was about how he meets all sorts of faiths, and he's struck by how much we have in common. And that's my experience of this country. It doesn't mean, of course, that we can't have and shouldn't have conversations about immigration, legal immigration, and also about how to stop the boats. But there's a very big difference between being determined to get policy right in a really tricky area, and it is a very tricky area, the Channel crossings, and spreading hate and division and fear. And the constant association by some in the media and by many on social media of people who come here seeking asylum, and some who come here when they shouldn't be coming here because they are migrants rather than asylum seekers, when those people are associated on a daily basis with heinous crimes, that shows fear, division and hatred.
But we know that there are some migrant groups, not all, that are disproportionately represented for certain crimes.
We don't know that.
We do know that.
No.
Now.
Let me explain. No, there have been figures that are extrapolations from some, I think, government figures, but we don't have the full picture.
Surely, Charlie, though, we can work from first principles, even if we're willing to dispute the data, to say that if there are some people that are coming from countries that don't have compatible values, and in many instances believe that women are treated as, or should be treated as, second-class citizens, it is a fair inference to assume that those values aren't going to magically change as soon as they hit the beach.
Well, look, I mean, let's look at today, Christmas Day. There'll be lots of people that might be by themselves. There might be people who are homeless. There might be a relative that is by... There'll be thousands upon thousands of families that have said, come to my table, come round for Christmas, I'll help you out, because they want to be open-hearted, they'll open their door, they will be fair, and they will do the right thing. And we as a British public have always done that. People that are in genuine need to flee conflicts, other countries, persecution of any kind, are welcome in the United Kingdom. That's always been the way. Take the Homes for Ukraine scheme. You know, we opened our hearts and our homes to people that are fleeing a genuine conflict. But when that balance and that sense of fairness just disappears, and the idea, and Matthew was right, you know, for too long, I don't think people have been open about the people that are actually coming to the country. Some of them are not, or in fact, overwhelming majority of them are not refugees. They are economic migrants.
And we have had this conversation throughout the year. I don't want to retread that ground. I want to discuss what was actually spoken about today. If we go to what the Archbishop of Canterbury, incoming I should say, Archbishop of Canterbury said, she did talk about how discussions around immigration are dividing us. My point was the discussions around immigration are important. I think we need to be having those discussions. Why do you think she framed it that way, and is that the wrong way of framing it?
So very quickly on a fact check, actually you're wrong to say the overwhelming majority of people who are coming to this country in the ways that we've been talking about are not genuine asylum seekers, because a great percentage of them actually get granted some form of asylum. Many of them...
I don't think that suggests that means that they are genuine refugees. I think that suggests we have a problem in our judicial system.
I'm not sure you're right
but
at all.
In any case,
this is about first decision. It's true that some people who come to this country shouldn't be coming to this country. But move on from that.
Move on from that.
Yeah. Look, I think that the incoming Archbishop certainly has a point that if you constantly point the finger at the other, that is divisive. I've already said that of course we should be able to have conversations about asylum and about illegal immigration and about legal immigration, because don't forget our net immigration figures, they are dominated by people who are invited to this country.
Agreed.
All of that is perfectly fair territory for conversation and debate because it is public policy. My beef, and I imagine this is the beef of the incoming Archbishop as well, is that when that spills into targeting, into divisive language, into alienation, into hatred at points, and into fear-mongering, then that becomes, by very definition, divisive. And the Christian message, which we should not forget, is about loving thy neighbour, and that includes people who don't look like us, who don't sound like us, who might be less fortunate than us.
But why isn't she then honing in more directly on the Christian message? She would surely know...
That was a small clip that you showed.
Yeah, but she would surely know that that would be the small clip that would be picked up, not just by GB News, mind you, by Sky News, by the BBC, I believe. She would know that that would be the bit that gets the attention.
Because she feels that an important part of the Christian message is not being listened to or is being misrepresented. I imagine, I can't speak for her,
sure,
but I would reiterate this. It's perfectly compatible to be a Christian and to believe in borders. I was confirmed as a Christian. I lost my faith, sadly, but I believe in borders. What I'm saying to people is, you can believe in borders, you can be a Christian, but it doesn't involve hating others, fearing others, or spreading division.
Charlie, your response.
No, and that's the point. I mean, the point that I was sort of making at the start is because that is about the Christian, message of faith and being fair. I think where the Archbishop of Canterbury, or incoming Archbishop, has gone wrong is that she's of the belief, it appears to me, just from that clip, like a lot of people on the left, is that anybody that comes into the country are genuine asylum seekers. They're not. And so the idea that we're not fair or we need to stop challenging that narrative is wrong.
Charlie, when does she say that in that clip?
No, but the emphasis on talking about migrants coming in as if we are demeaning them all, it's about fairness. It's about saying to people, rightly, if you come into the country illegally, you'll be deported. You come in through illegal means.
You can't be deported straight, but this is a point that has to be reiterated, because if we get a Nigel Farage-led reform government, which is astonishingly a possibility, I say astonishingly, not just because I disagree with them very strongly, but because they only have 5 MPs. So in political terms, he's done an extraordinary thing, there's no doubt about it.
Sure.
He's consistently leading the polls against a party that just won a massive majority and had been out of power for 14 years. That is a political phenomenon. It's one of the big features of politics in the year we've just had, and for a few more days still have, the fragmentation, atomization of British politics. But this idea you can simply just deport people, will be one of the first people to tell you that some of the people coming over by boat throw away their passports. If you do not know where they're from, Charlie, tell me how this government can deport them.
To Rwanda, which was a policy that we had under the last Tory government, but wasn't backed by
do you
Labour.
stand by the idea that that would have worked?
100% I do. Of course, 100%. Of course I do. It would have been the biggest deterrent this country's ever seen, because there isn't a deterrent anymore.
The fact of the matter is that we know that offshore processing and offshore detention works because it has worked in Australia. Now, I note the differences.
A fine country, might I add.
A fine country. I note the differences between Australia and the United Kingdom. The main differences are the legal frameworks that the United Kingdom itself has signed itself up for, and if you get rid of those legal frameworks, then I have no doubt that the same type of process can be applied successfully. But whether or not it could have worked, or Rwanda could have worked with those legal frameworks in place, is questionable, Charlie.
Sure, no, you're absolutely right, but you're not going to change the dial or solve the issue if you have a series of politicians, potentially including, and spokespeople and people in public life, like potentially the incoming Archbishop of Canterbury, who believe that everybody that comes across to our shore is a refugee. They need to be put up in a hotel. They need our love and support. They need accommodation. They need all the rest of it. They don't. It's a farce. If you don't accept the fact that actually a lot of the people are, I understand why people want to come to the UK. We are a great, great country. But there is a process and a legal means by which you can do so. And
the Labour government doesn't want them here either. So the question is how you'd stop the boats. The Conservatives failed to stop the boats. Rishi Sunak said that he would stop the boats. Effectively, he failed. Labour, so far, have spectacularly failed to stop the boats. The smash of the gangs thing simply hasn't worked so far. It may work, we'll see. Hasn't worked so far. My scepticism is that if Farage, who's offering extreme alternatives, if he were to become Prime Minister, I don't think it would work either.
Well, we will be covering this off in the second hour because Zach Polanski has made it the focus of his must-watch Christmas message. I bet you all enjoyed that today.